Is there a better way to use Victor Wembanyama?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. You guys are the everydayers. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first stop for all things silver and black. Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, the list goes on and on. There's no reason for you to not check out Locked On Spurs. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. You want to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now to get started. So what are we talking about today, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to be looking at Victor Wembanyama. Shocker, right? But how to utilize him better, whether it's on the offensive end or the defensive end. Sure, very tiny sample size. And yes, we're recording this show before the Phoenix game yesterday, so keep that in mind. But after at least 3 games, is there a better way the Spurs can use him, or maybe he can better himself when he's out on that court? And also, is Vegas right about that win total? Last check is about 29.5. After 3 games, are we knee-jerking too much? Is it too soon to do that? We'll ask our guest, who will be Vinnie Venzetta from Ken's 5. He'll be on shortly, in just a few minutes. But before we bring him on, so far, so good. Look, if you're starting to lose patience after 3 games of a brand new season, you want to reel it in. I think the last time we all spoke during the offseason, we said, it's going to be until about All-Star break where we should really know what this team is at. If you're knee-jerking right now, you best stop. You knew this. I knew this. Our guest is going to talk about this probably in a bit, that it's not going to happen overnight. You win the draft lottery. Yay. You get Victor. Way to go. But that does not mean they're out of the woods yet. You can see there's still some early struggles offensively and defensively. There is maybe a lineup change in the horizon. You don't know. This team is still cooking right now. They're not out of the rebuild quite yet. They're on their way. They see the exit sign down the road. They say, okay, we're about like 5 stops away from getting off this rebuild highway, but they're not there yet. So sure, them to get shellacked versus the Clippers, nobody should be too surprised. For them to lose a close game to a very experienced Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving Dallas team in the home opener, nobody should be surprised. Took everything they had versus Houston to get a W in OT. Nobody would be surprised. This is just who they're going to be for a while. You could start knee-jerking maybe around the All-Star break a little bit afterwards. If it's all total collapse, and sure, have at it. But give this team to cook. They need to get on that rotisserie grill, start grilling and moving around. They'll get there eventually. Just give it time. All right, let's go and bring in our guest. He is Vinnie Venetta, my colleague at Ken's 5 San Antonio. I probably made him hungry talking about rotisserie chicken.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
How you doing, VIN Dog?
I'm great. Nothing in the sports world quite like the month of October, and we ride that wave right into November. Exciting times.
He is my colleague again at Ken's 5. He's on the Ken's 5 Sports Desk. Make sure to follow him on the X at V Venzetta. You see it on your screen right now. Vinny, let's go and dive into this. So 3 games in, again, recorded before the Phoenix game, the first of 2 Phoenix games. So far, Wembanyama is still, not being that, oh my God, he's highlight machine, real every game, every night, everything. So my question to you, Vinny, is how can the Spurs utilize Wemby better?
I think Wemby needs to start being the Wemby that he knows he can be. He passes a lot because he's going to be a great passer, but you don't have to be so darn friendly. Shoot the basketball. That's the way you score the basketball, is to shoot the basketball. And the glimpses that we have seen of him finishing at the rim, go be more dominant. Hit it. You've got a beautiful stroke from the outside. Take jumpers. I mean, the best shooters in the world, in the history of the game, Jeff, keep on shooting. So I think that's what he needs to do. Just be more aggressive. Just do what you do. That's why you're here. Yeah. Devin Vassell, professional scorer, and there are some other scorers in that starting five. And let me say, I do like the starting five, but you're the number one draft pick.
Right.
Everybody expects you to have a home in Springfield someday. So go be you, do you. And I understand a 19-year-old wants to probably dish and pass and let the other guys be in charge. And again, as you mentioned so very well, it's a very small sample size. So I think it'll come. It'll happen. And I don't know if you heard Pop post game from the Clippers game. He said tonight was an education. And I love that thought, because this is not going to be the only education this team gets this year. And I say that to say that's only a good thing, Jeff. Getting this team educated on how to battle at the NBA level, that's a very good thing.
Absolutely. Look, as I said in the intro, this team is not out of the woods yet from their rebuild or retooling, their education, as Pop put it and you brought up. This education continues even with Wemby on board. One thing that threw me off a bit, and I thought the Spurs were going this direction with Wemby to start the season, was when in that first quarter versus Dallas, you saw them establishing Zach Collins, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and Wemby was kind of the passer. My initial gut reaction was like, okay, I get it. Let's get everybody cooking, and then Wemby will be Wemby. But I think it should be the reverse. I think you get Wemby going first. You start everything through him on the offensive end. Look, I think it's pretty much established that defensively it's going to begin and end with him. But on the offensive end, go to him. Give him those touches. Force him to be under that rim. Vinny, I don't see anybody stopping him under the rim. Maybe Chet. Maybe an Embiid if he pushes him out. But for most games, all you got to do is establish him under the basket somehow, and either it's a dunk, a layup, or a hook shot. Even Devin Vassell brought this up early in the season saying, I want to run more pick and roll with him. I need to see more of that. Vinny, your thoughts?
I agree with that pick and roll thought for sure. Now, he's going to suffer some of these big guys pushing him around because he's toothpick thin and he's brand new to regular season NBA basketball. But you're right, man. I mean, the looks that we've seen, there's not a whole lot of people that can make a mess of him in the paint and at the rim, whether it be a lob, a tip in. I mean, that reverse layup that he had the other night against the Clippers was phenomenal. Establish that presence. I completely agree with you, because you're 7, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, for a reason, and you can use that to your absolute full advantage.
I when Vassell brought that up early in the season, I said, that just makes absolute sense. But perhaps he's still a little starstruck. We forget that he's still a teenager. He's playing at the highest level of basketball. I'm pretty sure once he sees Kawhi Leonard or he saw Kevin Durant last night, I think Kevin Durant is one of his basketball, idols.
He is.
That probably is he's gonna be like, whoa, oh my goodness, So I think once he realizes that he has arrived and this is hopefully going to be his league soon, perhaps that'll turn the tide and he'll be more dominant on the offensive end, more dominant on the defensive end. Again, small sample size, everybody, we get this, but what are some early trends that we're seeing and how to fix them before they get a mess moving down the season? Hey, when we get back, we're going to ask, we're going to continue this topic, how to establish Wemby better. And I have a take. And it's, I don't know, I got to get my elbows out for this take, because I'm getting in there. I'm going to be pushing and shoving. You'll see what I mean by that in just a few minutes. And that's coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs with my colleague, Vinnie Venzetta. Hey, but first I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet, money line bet. That's all you got to do. Get that $5 money line bet. You win it. Guess what? $150 in bonus bets. Simple as that. If your team wins, that's the key there. So if you've been thinking about doing FanDuel, you got to go right now. There's no better time to get in the action than right at this moment. NFL season is underway. NBA season has just begun. MLB might be closing up soon, but hey, there's still a few more games. There's no reason for you to not jump in on the action by getting the FanDuel app right now. And that app is so easy to use. wide range of betting options from over and unders, player props, and so much more. I go there. I use it. I have fun with it. I looking at those NBA futures for your San Antonio Spurs or for your Dallas Cowboys fans. What better way to get on the action than getting the FanDuel app right now? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon immediately and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
Hey everybody, this is Nathan Ray Clark from Criminal Minds and Modern Family, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs, hosted by Victor Wembanyama's new best friend, Jeff Garcia.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with my colleague, the VIN Dog, Vinnie Venzetta. Follow him on X at VVinzetta right now. If you don't do it, you anger the VIN Dog. Nobody wants to anger the VIN Dog.
Nobody
wants it. He'll come out barking and biting if you don't do that. So make sure you do that right now. By the way, Vinny, I heard a rumor that you actually defeated a Darth Vader one time in a hallway. Is that true? Is that true?
Let's go with true. Yeah. Even if I didn't, we're going to go with true.
All right. We're talking about Wemby and how to get him better established in these first few games in his NBA career. So Vinny brought up about using the height. He brought about establishing them early, and that's perfect sense. That makes it, that sounds great. The pick and roll, all that stuff. Vinny, I want to see it get a little bit nasty. I want to see a little bit more nasty out of him. As you mentioned, nobody, for the most part, nobody can stop him at 7'4" in shoes. He's long. He has an 8-foot wingspan. That's his wingspan, 8 feet. I would love for him to stop doing this. Catching the ball in the paint and then drifting out to the three-point line. That tends to be a little thing that he does. Maybe that he's accustomed to that playing with the Mets 92. I think we saw that. But if we can get him going under the basket and then to turn around and does he have to jump to dunk it? Does
No.
he have to? No. Just throw it down with some authority. And we saw a little bit of what could have been a highlight moment versus the Clippers. He was on a fast break. Only Westbrook was in front of him. Westbrook goes up and tries to block him. Look, nobody's going to, at Westbrook's position, nobody's going to try to block him or get away with it. It would be, rare that happens. But Wemby could have just jammed it on him, put him on a poster. No, Wemby went for a layup. So I got to see a lot more aggressiveness out of him. I think that'll come. But if he can start getting accustomed to getting that nastiness, somebody light a fire under him. This reminds me of the David Robinson time. Remember Robinson was a thing? Oh, he could just get a little bit more nastier or somebody light a fire under him. I would love to see Keldon just get in his face, say, like, you finish that with authority, or Vassell, pushes him in a friendly teammate way and says, get up on there, get up on, nobody can stop you. I got to see a little bit more dog, because you're on the show right now, out of Wemby. Your thoughts?
Remember the great Tiago Splitter?
Oh, yes.
He was one to make you pull your hair out because it's like, Tiago, go up and dunk the thing.
Yes.
So let's make sure Wemby doesn't turn into Tiago Splitter. When you can finish, Wemby, finish. Yeah. It's like Kawhi Leonard said after the game. He's one of a kind. Nobody's ever seen anything like this guy. The league has never seen this. Remember the second game of the year a few nights ago with Houston in town? I was out covering high school football, but I was watching the stat box. I think Wemby took the first 6 shots. So I love that. The league has never seen anything like him. So establish him early. And if you can get him in the paint, don't just finish with authority, because that sends a mental message that you can't stop me.
Yeah. Now, part of that too, perhaps we've already seen it already. Teams are pushing him out of his comfort zone. I think Robert Covington, before he got traded to Philly, he said that was his tactic, and it would somewhat worked. Covington for the Clippers was just shoving him out, and it worked. Look, and I think obviously he's still a kid. His body is going to develop just naturally, and then the Spurs training staff, it'll add some strength and size to him. And I get it. He's been very vocal, and his camp has been vocal about not adding muscle. But Vinny, I mean, he's going to have to add some bulk, a little bit of bulk, just to survive that paint. Wait till he plays Giannis. Wait till he plays Embiid. What about Joker? Joker loves to back down. He has a back to the basket game. That's where I think that nastiness can come in. Like, okay, fine. maybe you might shove me out of the way, Embiid, or you might shove me out of the way, Joker. But if I'm on that break and I see you, not even you, Mr. MVP, NBA champion Joker, can stop me from dunking with my 8-foot wingspan. Vinny, that's all he has to do.
Well, I mean, you just said it. The Wemby camp can say all they want, but, he plays for the San Antonio Spurs. So I think adding bulk is not a conversation. It has to happen. It just has to happen. And I assume, wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you just assume that will happen?
It will happen. Yeah, naturally. Just biologically, he's going to get thicker.
Yeah, he won't even turn 20 years old until the turn of the new year. So, he's still kind of learning and figuring out his own body, too. That's fair,
Yeah. And defensively, though, I do like what I'm seeing out of him. The blocks are there, the able to change opposing shots. Just midair. The adjustments they make. We saw what the Dallas Mavericks did using big sticks to try to simulate Wemby. So defensively, he's already making an impact. And you know what? I should not be surprised by this, but I kind of am. You think he's averaging nearly about 2 steals a game? That's great defensively. That's awesome. So he's using that wingspan on the defensive end. He's obviously altering shots. He's blocking shots. You can definitely see a dramatic drop whenever he does exit the game. Teams start attacking more, as the Clippers. But so defensively, I'm okay. I think he'll only get better. But offensively, I just get nastier. Stop. Look, I'm glad he's a big that can hit the 3. That's great. That's kind of the modern big.
Yep.
But I like to see a little bit more balance. He's a little more dominant in that paint, because the only person I ever see is stopping him was Vinnie Venzetta in the paint. Because Vinnie Venzetta, you have all that strength and power. You could push anybody out of the block. Is that true?
Man, whatever you're eating, I want some of that too. Wow. Okay. I would add one more defensive thought. I think that every new team they play, you're going to have players that are going to get out there. And, let's face it, when we're watching from the stands, we're all backseat drivers. But when you're out there 5-on-5, it's a whole new world. But I think we're going to have a lot of players from every new team they play that's going to think, I can get it up and over this guy. No, the answer is no. So he's going to continue to get a lot of block shots this year.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we're going to shift gears and ask, is Vegas right? Vegas does not peg the Spurs to have that great of a season win total-wise. But so far through 3 games, could Vegas be right? That's coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs with Vinnie Venetta.
This is Zach Aguilar, the voice of Tanjiro Kamado, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
But before we put a wrap on this episode of Locked On Spurs, I want to talk to you about Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. You got to go to Muslinger's right now, San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's in the 281-1604 area. Why do you want to go there? Well, because they have dairy alternative drinks. They have the Red Bull Infused Lightning Bolt series. Shall I go on? Of course I'll go on. They have mini donuts. They got their signature Muslinger coffee drink. They got the OG OJ, which is the old Orange Julius, recreated only at Muslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. And if you're a big UTSA fan, they have the Sub-Zero. That's for Mr. Frank Harris. And they got the Alien. If you can't figure out what that one about, well, let me tell you. That's about Wemby. That's a full can of Red Bull, green apple, kiwi, mixed together. A very delicious drink. They're open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friendly staff. They have a great staff. As a matter of fact, they're so interactive on social media. You can follow them on TikTok, Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram. The list goes on and on. You can find them at Muslinger, SATX. Gets even better. Over 300 5-star reviews, cannot be wrong. You got to go there right now. Tell them Jeff sent you and ask for the OG OJ and ask them who made up this drink. Yeah, you probably won't be surprised who thought of that drink. But again, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go check it out right now. Why? Because life is too short for a bland coffee. All right, let's go and bring in our guest. Back to wrap things up here on Locked On Spurs, Vinnie Venzetta, the VIN Dog at VVinzetta on X. And one thing that Vinny has been flipping tables about, punching walls about, is Vegas projections. You have an issue with Vegas projecting the Spurs just to be about a mere 29-win team. But Vinny, after 3 games and seeing how they've been kind of up and down, a little bit more down, is Vegas right about their win total, or is it too soon to tell?
I guess I'll argue too soon to tell. However, I'm going to stick with the over on this one. I like them to win more than 30. And I'm not trying to sit here and say they're going to finish up 500 at 41-41. But I like them still somewhere, Jeff, in that 35, 37 type range. We're early in the year, and they have some quality clubs here early on in the first handful of games. But I'm going to still roll with the over. And look, why is Vegas Vegas? Because the house is right the vast majority of the time. And when it comes to professional sports, those guys do know what they're doing the vast majority of the time. But on this one, I'm still sticking with the over on the Spurs season win total.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna wait to project it out to see if Vegas projections are correct about that. But I just don't see this team winning just a mere 29. That was that last check. Maybe it changed because again we're recording this before the Phoenix game, so if they got blown out of the water, and again maybe that changes things. But 29, no way. I just can't be. I think they'll get their groove going around the All-Star break. I think we'll see where they're at right now. Remember the old vaulted rodeo road trip? That's where everything comes together and everything's like a light comes on for the team. We'll see that. Even Pop alluded to it in that big loss to the Clippers, saying the road is a lot different than playing at home. So that was their education. So now they have another education. It's still class of 101 versus Phoenix yesterday. Guess what? They got class 101 again with Phoenix tomorrow. and it only gets even tougher, at least for this first month. So they're getting a good education right now. So you'll likely see Vegas perhaps dip those numbers, that win total projection, based on how tough this first month is. But I think once Wemby gets going, perhaps they make a change at the point guard spot. Vinny, what are your thoughts about that? Sohan experience kind of been it's
been 50-50 so far. He looks a little tentative, but it's not a job he's ever had before. So I think we got to give him a little bit of a break and see how he can mix and mesh. Now, is there obviously going to be more penetration and kick with Trey Jones? I think the answer is obviously yes. Yeah. But I think we have to give Jeremy a little more time.
I agree.
I think he's being tentative, but the question is, will he come out of that? Will he kind of establish himself as a point guard of that size?
Yeah. I've been a fan of Trey Jones since day one. You just see that calming force. I talked to him about coming off the bench to start the season. He's not going to sit there and cry and say bleep the Spurs or bleep Pop. He's not going to do that. But he did say, that he does want to still bring that leadership. Devin Vassell told me that during that tight moment versus Houston in overtime, it was Trey Jones that was the calming force for the squad at that critical moment. It wasn't Sohan. Now, again, you're right. Sohan has never been in this position. Maybe if they do that shift and bring Trey Jones back, perhaps. And, by the way, I don't know if you saw this on NBA Stats, a website. Wemby so far is most successful with Trey Jones on the court with him.
Interesting.
So if the Spurs start seeing that trending continue, then maybe that'll force them to be like, yeah, we got to get – obviously he plays better with Trey Jones, that Wemby Trey Jones combo there.
But I think, too, they're still experimenting with combos,
Yeah.
What are the matchups? What do we like? What works well? I mean, again, as you alluded to, small sample size. We haven't even played 5 regular season games yet. So there are things still to figure out. And I think when Pop says education, he maybe is talking about he and his coaching staff too, about who are we, what works, and what are the rotations we need.
Yeah. It's an education for them too, because how do you integrate Wemby? How do you get a good rotation going around him? Is Zach Collins a perfect pairing? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. We don't know yet. What if it's Bassey? Bassey's great, bouncy big, that athletic and rebounder machine and all that stuff. What if it's him? We just don't know yet. So Vegas, they may still say that the Spurs are trending at a 29-game clip for this upcoming season. I disagree. I think, Vinny, you wrote a whole article about that on Ken's 5, saying how Vegas is just out of their mind to even do that. Unless you got a bookie somewhere, Vinny. Is that what's going on there? Okay, you're good.
The silver and black here.
He is Vinnie Venetta, my colleague at Ken's 5 TV. And let us know what you think about Wemby. How would you better use Wemby moving forward? Would you like to see him establish more in the paint or more? Is this something we missed? And are you still saying Vegas, you're out of your mind, or you're starting to think, well, maybe Vegas is right? You can let Vinny know on X at VVinzetta. And Vinny, what is going on in your world behind that sports text at Ken's 5?
Oh, hey, I finished up an awesome story that I felt really good about. I spent some time in Gilmer, Texas over the summer, which is kind of the origins and roots of UTSA football head coach Jeff Traylor. Kind of hung out with this East Texas gang and got some good stories. And he won 3 state championships there before he did some college assistant coaching before UTSA. So a really fun story. It's actually on my Twitter page now. A few posts down, I've actually posted the link, so you should check that out if you're a big Roadrunner fan. A lot of fun and just a stretch run of college ball, high school football, Spurs season underway. See what the Rangers can do. Best time of the year in sports.
Oh yeah, Cowboys, all that good stuff. It's a fun time to be a big sports fan. I'm gonna test Vinny's nerd knowledge right now, real fast. I'm gonna point to something. Vinny, who is this?
Let's see here. I think my Jeopardy clock is it's up. You're gonna have to help me out there, Jeff.
Jinx.
Okay.
So let me give you some nerd knowledge right now. So if you're out and about, see somebody wearing the T-shirt, and you say, "Hey, that's Jinx from League of Legends." Vinny, your nerd credit just goes through the roof.
You know, if there's something I'm short on right now, it is nerd street cred. So thank you, my good friend.
or you just text me. We're rolling back. I'm at a bar right now. I need to know. Here's a picture of this. What is this? And I'll get you something.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we had some fun with Vinny, but we want to thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, the Ken's 5 Plus app. They're all there for you to enjoy every single episode of Locked On Spurs. We'll be back tomorrow, looking ahead, probably at the Phoenix game, or hopefully, Vinny, they beat Phoenix. By the time people are hoping that'd be awesome. Hey, they're without Devin Booker, so they had a chance yesterday. They had a chance. We'll see if the Spurs pulled it off. If not, well, we'll regroup and look forward. So for Vinnie Venetta, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.